Bringing the platen down so you can change the shaft seal, you simply go to hood height and bring it down to 0. As you do this, the platen's going to lower, and if you watch the shoulder bolts, you'll see if all of the weight is taken off. If all of the weight is taken off, then that's fine. If it's not, and your shoulder bolt still has this size gap, you can just put a little bit of cardboard under the platen, as we'll show you in the next clip, just to take the weight off, which makes it easier to remove the platen arm. With the grill turned off now, what we're going to do is just raise the platen arm and just slide a bit of cardboard in the middle point of the grill plate towards the back if needed. Lower it down, and as you lower it, you'll see we remove the weight from here. So we're a little bit far forward, so we're just going to move that cardboard further back. As we move it further back, you'll see the rear now takes the weight, which means these bolts, they're not held in with any force, so they should now be easy to remove. We're going to undo this bolt and undo this bolt, depending on the version. If you have the arm with a high definition or high density aluminium cast, you'll need to unscrew these from the pin. If you have the early version, you'll just need to loosen these by about 4 turns. Once the bolts are undone or loosened, these pins will just come forwards and come out. Because there's no weight on them, you can see this is already coming forwards. If you need to, use a small screwdriver to help push it forwards. As there's no weight on it, you can see how easy this pin is to pull out. If needed, you can use a small screwdriver just to reach in and pull it. If not, it will pull out and the platen will drop whilst resting on the cardboard. Now what we need to do is remove the 2 Teflon bushes, which will be in the PM kit, just from the back there. If you don't remove those, they tend to fly all over the floor. Then we need to lift the platen up off of the knuckle and expose the other 3/4 inch bolts. We're now going to show you how to remove the seal here. Now on the older units this will be white, on the newer units this will be black. However, the process to access it and remove it is still the same. The rear of the grill, and we have to remove the 2 cross member bolts here. Take this away and then access the pin behind. Once we've done that and loosened it and removed it, we can then pull the shaft out. With the last bolt removed, you can now see that the anti-rotate bar can be removed. This then exposes the pin that holds the shaft and the actuator together. Because the top has been disconnected, you can rotate this and gain full access and remove that pin. We're now going to remove the carriage block and the shaft together. So that we don't have to remove the carriage block from the shaft, we're also going to loosen the 3 bolts that hold the seal cap in place. The reason for doing this is that enables us to lift that up with the shaft and saves us having to worry about damaging the seal. Now because the top arm is off, this shaft will now fully rotate, which makes it much easier to access the 1/4 inch bolts. We've now removed the bolts from the shaft cap. We can now lift the shaft. As we do this, we have to make sure that the cap comes up with the shaft. As you can see, it has come out as one full assembly. You can see we have the complete shaft, the seal cap and the carriage block all as one item. Because we've done this, it means that the shaft wiper seal is undamaged and easy to use again. Now that we've exposed the top section and removed the shaft from the tube, we now have to remove the system itself. We do this from undoing these 4 Allen key bolts and also this wedge. You first undo this bolt and prise the wedge out. The top bolt is frequently not done up very tight. However, you may need a screwdriver to help prise out the wedge. Okay, the wedge is now removed. So now that's all that's holding the shaft tube in are the Allen key bolts. When we remove these, we have to be careful. Behind each bolt is a spacer. So be careful not to lose them or they will bounce and disappear. We'll now remove the Allen key bolts. You can see we have the bolt head, and in the back there we have the spacer. As you undo that and remove the bolt, you'll find that spacer will often drop straight down. Okay, sometimes they won't move until you take the last bolt out, but you should just be mindful not to lose them. So the best option is to remove the screw and then intentionally remove the spacer. That way you ensure you know where it is at all times. Now we'll complete the same process and remove the remaining 3 Allen key bolts. With all of the bolts removed and the washers safely taken out, we can now just lift the tube straight out from the top. When we take it out, you can see the seal is just pressed in the top. If you have the black seal, which is on the newer grills, on the backsplash you'll see some small holes which will just help you locate the pin again. Okay, so now we're going to change it, we're going to reassemble it. So with the new seal fitted to the lift tube, we're going to put it back in. Okay, it won't sit perfectly, but what we also have is when we come down here, we have to make sure that these little notches align into the lift tube. So now that they're aligned, we're now going to reassemble it, but we're going to put everything on loose. So the wedge will go in first, and we'll just put that in hand tight, and then we'll put in the 4 Allen key bolts with the spacers. The reason we do it this way is it allows it to be loose and easy to slide in the spacers and the bolts. It's important to remember when you're fitting the spacers back in that these spacers only slide in from the side. So if you attempt to put them in from the top or from the bottom, you won't be able to align them. Okay, everything is now in loose. So now we're going to insert the shaft back in and rebuild the assembly. This ensures that we have a nice alignment between the actuator, the shaft and the plan. Okay. Now that the actuator shaft is reassembled to the actuator and done up securely and tight, we now need to start tightening up the wedge. So we'll start by this side, and as we do this up, if you have the black seal, it's important to look at the front and watch this front edge. As you tighten it up, you'll see the compression push the seal. When you start to see it sliding out, that's the time to stop. Okay, there are no gaps, so that's perfect. We can stop there. And now we would tighten up the 4 remaining Allen key bolts. So now we're just going to finish tightening these up. Put a nice bit of torque on them. They shouldn't move, but don't go crazy with it because you don't want to squash the spacer at the back.